together. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'd like to present you just a single find. As I said, a late Roman composite find from Stuttgart, the region where I'm working on. So let's start, hopefully. No, not yet. Sorry. Here we are. So
Sorry, Andreas, we've
no.
lost your screen.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I see a mesh. Oh, but
You'd like to share again?
So here we are again, I hope.
Yes, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So a quick look on the Roman map. I'm presenting today a find which comes from Stuttgart, today the capital of the federal state of Baden-Württemberg in southwest Germany, and in Roman times from around 100 AD, a suburb of the military base of Bad Cannstatt on the Neckar-Limes. After the abandonment of the military base around 160 AD, Stuttgart developed to a central trading center in the south of the province of Germania Superior. And under the protection of the Limes, several villas developed around the place of Bad Cannstatt, and in the Stuttgart Valley Basin, on the side of the today's main railway station, a Roman estate was built at this time, only parts of which are known. Its main building and a good part of the outbuildings are likely to have been located directly under the railroad tracks at the beginning of the 20th century. But remains of the courtyard wall, several pottery and brick kilns, and in particular a multi-phased bars building are among the features found a little further down the slope. All of the buildings were already damaged by floodings in Roman times. The bath building alone had to be repaired several times and rebuilt from its foundations at least once. Around 100 years after the fall of the Limes, around 260 AD, and thus at the end of the Roman period in southwest Germany, new settlers erected buildings made of wood and half timbering on the banks of the little stream. Wooden post settings and pits provide evidence of a small hamlet-like settlement, which also included a single nave residential building at least 14 meters long and 6 meters wide with a central fireplace. The dendrochronological data of oak posts point to the early 4th century AD. This date matches with other finds such as the handmade pottery, crossbow brooches, and, in particular, 2 coins of Emperor Magnentius minted in Trier 352 AD, which show hardly any traces of circulation. Taken together, the finds and features found suggest the farmstead of Germanic new settlers who took possession of the site a good 100-150 years after its abandonment. The site of the former Roman villa was probably chosen by chance. It cannot be assumed that the remains of the stone buildings could still be used. At least the area on the lowland from which the find presented here originates appears to have been largely reshaped by layers of clay from flooding events. Yeah, now let's come to the find that I would like to introduce today. Strictly speaking, it consists of 2 individual objects that originally did not belong together, but were rather combined ad hoc. Both are made of bronze and both are cast, but they consist of different alloys. We have, let's call it, a double hook, elaborately crafted, and a rectangular bronze fitting with an rectangular eyelet. The bronze double hook is connected to a rotating axle. This axle has a cast disc in its center and ends on one side in a flat knob, on the other side in an eyelet, which in turn sits on a disc. The axle thus has a total of 3 rigidly attached discs, the upper eyelet, the middle and the end knob, between which the 2 discs of the double hook rotate like a hinge. The axle and double hook were originally fully rotatable in relation to each other, but are now, of course, corroded in an angle of around 45 degrees. The originally circular closed eyelet, which formed the end of the axle, is now probably broken at the top due to intensive abrasion of a secondary ring or similar that was once attached here. Otherwise, the double hook shows no visible signs of damage. The 2 opposing hooks are omega-shaped and leave a 2 mm gap so that thin rings of chain could be inserted into them. Both hooks are decorated with stylized dolphin heads on the ends facing the axis and with the heads of water birds probably on their outer side. A very comparable double hook on a rotating axle, which was also decorated with dolphins, comes from Derveden in northern Germany outside the Roman Empire. Hajo Zimmermann had already dated it to the Roman imperial period in 1977 on the basis of comparable finds. In addition to this individual find, which came to light outside the Roman Empire, he cited 5 parallels, of which I show here 2 from Passau and Mainz. And Regina Franke presents 2 comparable hooks from the small finds of the Burghöfe fort, which were probably originally also rotatable. But the most comparable specimen to the double hook from Stuttgart comes from the auxiliary fort of Passau-Boiodurum. As the Boiodurum fort was only occupied until the middle of the 3rd century, this site also confirms the dating of our piece to the Middle Imperial period. Even though all the finds mentioned are likely to have had a comparable function, none of the pieces are the same. All double hooks are different in shape and decoration. Together with a complicated production process, this probably indicates that they were made individually. A double hook preserved in the Cambridge Museum may now indicate the original function of these pieces. Bronze chains hang from both ends of the hook, to the end of which a bronze vial or its lid is attached. This is also confirmed by the glance at the relevant art trade catalogues, which, however, the Ariballoi unguentuaria are usually hang on omega hooks of a similar but simpler design. Anyway, such pieces, often richly decorated, would be a worthy appendage for our elaborate hook. In any case, there's nothing to add to Zimmermann's statement from 1977. It is the playful design of the ring that combined the carrying change of ointment bottles, which hung on the Palestrine's ring with the strigeles, for example. It It therefore belongs to the set of equipment used in the bathhouse and on the gymnasium. At the time of its discovery, a flat rectangular bronze fitting cast in one piece was suspended to one of the omega hooks of the double hook. Its upper side shows 5 circular eyes, each consisting of 2 concentric circles around a strongly pronounced center. One of the long sides and the 2 narrow sides of the edges have irregular, shallow notches. The underside has 2 flat button rivets. The fitting was hooked into the double hook with an undecorated rectangular eyelet that widens the rectangle on one of its long sides. The outward-facing bar of this rectangular eyelet is worn down to about half its thickness in a curved shape. From the rectangular bronze fitting to no exact parallels were found in the southwest Germany. According to the 2 pins with counter buttons on the underside, the piece was probably attached to a 2 to 3 millimeter thick leather belt. Among the finds from the Limes compiled by Jürgen Oldenstein als sogenannte Waffenschildchen, more correctly probably as belt fittings, there are only vaguely comparable elements that combine a rectangular shape with the 2 pins attached to the back. A comparison of its decorative element allows it to be dated to the late Roman period. The solidity of the rectangular fitting plate is reminiscent of the cast fittings of late Roman military belts. The strongly pronounced circular eye decoration is also frequently found in its form of late Roman metal costume components. In combination with circular eye decoration and hinge axis, such fittings can be found, for example, on the buckles of the so-called propeller belts of the middle and second half of the 4th century, as shown by the example of belt fittings from Augst presented by Max Martin. The fitting plate of both buckles from Augst ends in a bearded bar, the jagged end of which was created by filing notches. This is imitated in the notched section of our piece. Building on Martin's topology, Horst Wolfgang Böhme even summarized the enclosure element of these belt sets as simple dolphin clasps, as pairs of opposing dolphins appear here alongside lion heads. Is there a deliberately or coincidental connection to the decorative elements in our double hook? So that's it. I have tried to show you that this item is composed of parts which do not belong to one period of time. In my opinion, some Germanic settler in the 4th century found, probably in the bathhouse of Stuttgart, but I'm not quite sure this item can come from every part of the Roman world, found this double hook and connected it to this belt plate probably, but I'm not quite sure if this comes from a military belt or something else, because the rectangular plate is a singular item as far as I know. So I would be very glad to hear your comments and hopefully some parallels of this find. Thank you very much.